morning, Wake Forest and Vandy and Stanford. I'm excited to be back with you to read a book this morning. Before we start reading, we're going to take 3 deep breaths, so sit up straight. Long breaths. Our book today is called The Name Jar. And when we're reading today, I want you to think of, you're going to tell me the lesson that you learned from the story. What's the moral of the story? Before we start reading, I'm going to resituate myself. Okay, so it's called The Name Jar by Yangsook Choi. The Name Jar. Through the school bus window, Yoon-hai looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. Connection sign if you were nervous and excited on your first day of school. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon-hai's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Yoon-hai had wondered. Again she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Yoon-hai, surprising her. Yoon-hai looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Yoon-hai answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Yoon-hai," said Yoon-hai. "Une," the girl asked, scrunching up her face. Une," some kids chanted. No, Yoon-hai corrected. "It's spelled U-N-H-E-I. It's pronounced Yoon-hai." "Oh, it's you-hey," the boy said. "Look, like you-hey. What about hey you?" Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Yoon-hai hurried to get off. "You-hey, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Yoon-hai felt herself blush. Think about how you think she's feeling. How do you think Yoon-hai is feeling? Yoon-hai is feeling... You say it. Yeah, Yoon-hai is feeling sad because those kids were bullying her. They were making fun of her name. That would make me feel sad too. What could she say to them? If you were Yoon-hai, what could you say? Yeah, you could say, "Please stop making fun of my name," and if they still don't listen, then what do you do? In Wake Forest, if someone is being mean to you and they don't stop when you ask them kindly, then we raise our hands and tell Miss Evans, so she could tell a teacher. Yoon-hai stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Why do you think her face was red? Maybe because she was feeling nervous or embarrassed because those kids are making fun of her? "Aren't you going in?" asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Yoon-hai nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Miss Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yoon-hai. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Yoon-hai smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Yoon-hai pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet," she told the class, "but I'll let you know by next week." As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. "Why doesn't she have a name?" she heard someone whisper. "Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity," he replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Yoon-hai kept thinking about her name. "How was school, Yoon-hai?" her mother asked when she walked in. "Did you understand the teacher?" Yoon-hai simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. "I'm glad you are learning English well," her mother said. "You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you are a good Korean." "I will," replied Yoon-hai, but I think I would like my own American name," she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Yunhai is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Yunhai complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Yunhai, her mother said. That's a good thing. Yunhai just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Yunhai and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fadil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Yunhai's favorite, for soup. It made Yunhai smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yunhai. Helping your mother with the shopping, he asked. Yunhai nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said, and what is your name? Yunhai, she answered. Ah, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Yunhai nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put their groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Yunhai. That evening, Yunhai stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Ha-he manin id chuzi, she said to the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. I think that was counting in Korean. Miss Evans didn't do a very good job. Sorry. I don't know Korean. The next morning when Yunhai arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yunhai took out one and read it aloud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yunhai took out the rest of the paper. Tamela, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yunhai nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday? Yes, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yunhai's face. Ralph quickly said, We'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. How were these kids different from the kids on the bus? They were different because... Well, they were different because they were being kind and they were helping her think of a name that she could have. But the kids on the bus made fun of her name. They were being mean. They were not nice. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Yunhai looked out the window and saw it sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar voice called out to her. Yunhai turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Yunhai thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out a small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yunhai said, and then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day the jar got fuller with more names, and Yunhai read them all. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose a name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I've put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Yunhai got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Yunhai, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yunhai, your grandmother forever. Yunhai took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. So you can see up here, It's written in Korean characters. That's a different language. And then down here, it's in English, so Miss Evans can read it. On Saturday, Yoonhye walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yoonhye. Hello, Mr. Kim, Yoonhye replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Eunhee? He asked her with his eyes open wide. Yoonhye looked quickly at Mr. Kim, then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Yoonhye, and it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Yoonhye, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Yoonhye smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yoonhye, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. On Monday, Yoonhye came to class early to look at the names one last time, but the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was just a single piece of paper with a name on it. Yoonhye slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yoonhye said. It wasn't on Mr. Kokoto's desk or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon Mr. Kokotos came in and Ralph shouted, The name jar is gone! The jar with all the names in it! Gone? Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yoonhye, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Yoonhye nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yoonhye wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I liked the beautiful names and funny names you thought of for me, she told the class, but I realized that I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Yoonhye means grace. Grace! Grace and hi! Shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Eunhye, Eunhee, Eunhye. Yoonhye said her name again slowly and clearly. Yoonhye. Soonly the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. They applauded Yoonhye's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Yoonhye. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Kokotos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Yoonhye heard her new friend say goodbye. Bye, Yoonhye. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Yoonhye. Yoonhye said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. How do you think it made her feel when her friends said her name not right, when they said it incorrectly? Maybe it made her feel a little sad. How about when they said her name correctly? When they practiced and they said it right? Yeah, it probably made her feel happy and excited inside that they were saying her name correctly. Maybe it even made her feel loved. Yoonhye, come downstairs, Mother called up to Yoonhye. Your friend is here. Yoonhye rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where did you find it? asked Yoonhye breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Yoonhye said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you could put some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yoonhye. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled out a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Jinku, read Yoonhye. That means friend. And Jinku smiled back. What do you think the moral of the story was? What did the author want you to learn? The moral of the story was... the moral of the story was you should be confident with who you are. That we were all made differently, and there's beauty in our differences. And we learned that when people are being mean, there's always other people who are going to be kind to us, and we can choose to be friends with the kind people.